I think people are afraid of Trump because he makes statements. He's basically baiting the opposition.
Yeah.
They do a lot of bait and switch. So, and they also bring, have their friends close, but enemies closer. So
Yeah.
there are, if you understand the principles behind the way the white hats operate, then you won't sit there going, oh my God, like a lot of Democrats are right now, but even some Republicans, because they don't wrap their mind around the big picture and what he's really up against. Again, coming from the secret space program. Now, let me clarify, what is the SSP? It is a secret government. It's not just a secret space program that's off in the corner over there doing things. They are actually making deals with extraterrestrial races. Look at the Tesla technology, because we are headed to a release of free energy.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it has already been released in certain secret areas like air travel, just in case you never heard that. They are doing a combination of regular fuel and free energy to fuel
Wow.
the commercial jets.
What's your opinion from where you stand? Like, are we moving in the right direction? Are things better than they were? Are they no better than they were? Like, what's your overall opinion of where we are right now and where we might be over the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Well, I definitely think they're moving in a good direction. I think Trump getting into office is a good step forward.
But before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way, people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There'll be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail, and we'll get you as much as you want. Gold and silver. Welcome to CarminesGold.com. Don't waste not even a second looking. Cheaper prices just don't exist. How important is it for you to own gold and silver right now? What does it mean to me personally? There's an economy that's about to crash beyond what words can explain. In 5 words, I'm going to educate you on gold and silver. Are you ready? You need to own some. Simple.
Hey, Elisa V here. We all know that legal matters can be costly and stressful. Finding the right representation and dealing with high retainers and hourly bills adds up fast. But what if I told you there's a way to have legal insurance just like your health or car insurance? Legal Shield has leveled the playing field. From just $29.95 a month, you get access to lawyers for personal legal matters. From traffic tickets to real estate issues or trust matters, help is just a tap away on your phone. Call or text 516-493-1742 and use code ElisaLegal to start your journey to legal protection today. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Mel Carmine Show. I'm Elisa V, your guest host, and we've got a great show for you today with our special guest, Kerry Cassidy. As always, though, I did want to remind you guys about the upcoming Quantum Summit, and it is quickly approaching. It's taking place March 8th and 9th in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And this landmark event is being hosted by Mel Carmine and his esteemed wife, Amber. It promises to bring together some of the most influential minds, individuals shaping the future of science, health, and governance. There's going to be many distinguished contributors, including collaborators aligned with the envisioned Trump RFK administration, and they will be presenting initiatives aimed at revitalizing America's health and agriculture by restoring essential trace minerals to our soils. So I have to tell you, this is an event not to be missed. I am so honored that I'm going to be one of your MCs leading this amazing event with panels that are sure to get us into a mode of questioning and looking for important answers going forward. Get your tickets. They're on sale at Quantum summit1776.com. And for more information, check out the description box. Also, if you want to support us, consider supporting some of our sponsors, which are all listed below. And lastly, if you enjoy this podcast today, please like, share, and subscribe. Now, today I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, the esteemed Kerry Cassidy. Kerry, welcome.
Thank you.
Kerry, your reputation precedes you. I've been following you for many years, and you've just been a trailblazer in the truth community as an investigative reporter. You're well known for so many interviews with whistleblowers who've come forward about the truth in many areas, including secret space program, UFOs, the alien agenda, and so much more. So I just want to jump into our discussion today. And I guess what's probably been on most people's minds over the last couple of weeks is, we've got a new administration. Trump is finally visually back. And, what does that look like? We did a roundtable together a couple of weeks ago, right on Inauguration Day. And I know you have a great deal of passion about, that disclosure should really be happening.
Right. So yeah, it's great that Trump's back, and it's great that he is signing all these executive orders, basically changing the world. And I think that the people that he has as his team that are getting confirmed are going to really enhance everything he's able to do. So I'm very happy about that. I think that we are having some attacks. You might have heard about the various planes catching fire, being hit by a helicopter, and so on. So we do have some deep state payback or attacks, however you want to look at it. So I think that is going on. Whether that's going to continue, whether they're able to clamp it down or not, I don't know how that's going to work out. I know that Brennan and a bunch of colleagues have been kept out of the buildings. They've had their security clearances revoked. And that is a very important move in my view. So I'm not sure, it's a huge picture. What I look at, because of my, area of expertise, I look at Secret Space Program, SSP for short, and where is Trump going to land on that playing field, and how are the things he does going to alter the things that have been happening around our planet for many, many decades, if not eons. So they're up against a very serious opponent, enemy, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. And the fires in California were also part of that system that they have already set up many, many years ago, going back, we're talking in the 1940s, maybe 30s here in the United States, and prior to that in places like Egypt and so on. So it goes all the way back to Atlantis and so on. So when I look at Trump, I see him in context with what has come before, what is he attempting to change, and what is he either lying about, with all due respect, or trying to cover up or continue a cover up, and where is he kind of, where is it sort of, the edges are being sort of fudged, and so that people won't really know where he stands and what game is being played. So there's a lot of other people may look at the front and center. I'm looking at the periphery to see what is really happening here. After 4 years, where are we going to be, and what is, what are things like voting and so on. So I have sort of a wide net, I guess you might call it, as opposed to a more narrow focus. But the here and now is very important, and he's doing some great things, right now. And I think it's going to continue. I figured he's coming out with, he's doing negotiations the way he does it. So he's doing this sort of trade war situation where he's trying to rebalance the role of the United States with respect to the rest of the world community. Now, people may not see it from the long view that I use, but I am seeing him positioning himself and the United States and territories around the United States, countries around the United States, where they are going to be playing ball or not with him. And I think so some of the things he's doing is to test those waters. And so he's coming up with these huge tariffs, and then he's backing off when he can make a deal in some other area, like in Mexico recently. He was going to go for 25%, I think it was, a tariff. And then he backed off it when they agreed to turn their part of their country into a prison system for what are illegal aliens, but not just that, but coming from all over the world, who are being sent out of our borders, and who are military aged men who came in with an ulterior motive, representing their country's interests, whatever. So I think I would wish that the press, whether it be alternative or mainstream, would pull back and have a wider view instead of always just focusing on the here and now and details that are kind of simple and not very complex. We need to see the deeper story. So that's what I concentrate on.
Okay. Yeah. And I happen to agree with you that that's really my view too, because some of these, and not to denigrate or make small of some of these things that happen, because they're all part of the bigger picture. But I do agree sometimes there's like a little bit of a too much of a narrow focus on each individual thing, as opposed to what are we really looking at and what's really going on. Now, I have a question for you because of your extensive knowledge with regard to, let's just call it the alien agenda, and, what's been sort of going on behind the scenes that they have not disclosed or talked about. But where do you think we are with all that? Like we get dribs and drabs that we're much better off, that the war, we've been helped, we've had a lot of help from positive ETs, and we've had a lot of progress, let's say, that's been made in those areas, right? When we think about underground and the war that's being fought there. But, you're very tapped into this. Where do you think we really are? Are we better? Are we much better off? Are we a little better off? Are we almost done? Like, where does that all fit into the bigger picture?
Well, I think it's not terribly clear at the moment. There's Wano Savin, who I claim is JFK Jr. A lot of people disagree with that. But if he were, let's say, hypothetically, JFK Jr., and if he were, as he was, still best friends with Trump, right, then what he says matters. So that's why it matters, not just because he is someone called 107 that hit the airwaves several years ago and started talking. He's clearly, brilliant, long-winded, difficult to follow, and yet sometimes he does drop some very good intel in his talks. So if you have the patience, you can gather some good information. If you also wrap your mind around the idea that he and his family are under threat, he has to be very careful. So I also want to pay, respect to that aspect of how he keeps his powder dry, as they say, keeps it close to the chest, and yet he is disclosing. He is an expert at the media, intel, and things of that nature, I believe. And so, of course, he's ideally suited to be the kind of spokesperson that I believe him to be of the White Hats. The White Hats are the White Hat military that are actually worldwide, that are a relatively secret organization that really hit the ground running around the time of the Kennedy assassination, but clearly had also been operational before that. I think their members really increased after that. I think that they were guarding JFK Jr. as a child, and I think that they made sure that Hillary didn't kill him. So there are elements that if you don't understand the big picture, and you don't know where things are coming from, then you don't really understand, like a lot of people, like why should they listen to him? You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't understand the context. They don't understand the roles people are playing that might even go back years. People like Kash Patel and others who have been brought into the team that are trustworthy. I think, unlike the administration before, we have some people that we can really admire. I think that we can really track their actions based on the past as well, because we know them, and things like that. So I think this is a different time, and it's looking very positive in many ways. I think people are afraid of Trump because he makes statements. He's basically baiting the opposition. They do a lot of bait and switch. So, and they also bring, have their friends close but enemies closer. So there are, if you understand the principles behind the way the white hats operate, then you won't sit there going, oh my God, like a lot of Democrats are right now, but even some Republicans, because they don't wrap their mind around the big picture and what he's really up against. Again, coming from the secret space program. Now, let me clarify, what is the SSP? It is a secret government. It's not just a secret space program that's off in the corner over there doing things. They are actually making deals with extraterrestrial races, inner Earth races. They are going interstellar. They have the technology to go interstellar. I am told by whistleblowers, and I have many whistleblowers over a period of 20 years, who are all telling me that the technology under the ground, in underground cities and underground bases, is about 10,000 years in advance of surface Earth. So you have to understand, we have bases on the moon, we have bases on Mars, we have battles going on those planets. We have whistleblowers about that. We have, it's just going off planet, colonizing other planets. So they have an agenda, and that agenda is kind of front and center, and has been for many, many years, but it's virtually ignored and unknown on surface Earth. So even the surface Earth governments pretend as if they don't exist. And this is a huge problem, and it's become greater the more we move into what you might call the space age. Okay. And AI is the advent, in many ways, of the space age. As one of my witnesses, Captain Mark Richards, says, any spacefaring nation or culture or planet is going to create AI to go off into space. That the two things go together. So that's what we're looking at. And I think that we have to understand the context under which Trump and the White Hats are operating to understand the decisions that Trump makes. When he says he's going to do something, he does it. Okay, there's no doubt about that. The other thing is that he will taunt the deep state by some of his proclamations that will throw people, for a loop. And, they'll think, oh, he's a dictator, but he's not. He's actually, he's being a strong man. At the same time, he's taunting them. It's a game, it's the game of intelligence, you might say. So when you don't have any training in intelligence, or you haven't been paying attention to kind of the rules of the intelligence game as it's played on surface Earth, you have to extend that exopolitically, as they call it, to our relations with aliens and how they relate with us, because they lie, they sign treaties, they break. And this is all ongoing, and most people have no idea about it. Now, if you want to stay in the dark, then go ahead and try, but you're going to get wrapped up into it anyway, because your rights are going to be affected. Your rights as a human being, your freedoms are going to be affected. So I encourage everyone who's been kind of keeping their head in the sand lately over the years to start waking up to the signs and signals of what's going on underground, in the underground cities, in the secret government. Yes, we have a so-called Earth government. Now it's run by Trump, but who runs him? Where are his limitations? That's where we have to look. Okay, this is so important. And I am, I guess you might say, dismayed by even what I'm seeing right from the get-go. I am seeing Elon Musk is continuing to lie to the people. Now, Elon Musk is a pivotal, important sort of key person in this administration, and for good reason, because of his AI background and because of his intelligence and knowledge of science and whatnot. But he comes from working for the dark side and then working for both sides, and now he's tending to work for Trump. However, in the process, he has forgotten to tell us what he really does and what his technology really is for. And it was a distraction technology. It was a technology to keep people in a slower trajectory to enlightenment, in essence, to freedom, to true freedom. So the old technology that he's handled very well, because that technology was developed not by him, but by others, in the space program, many eons ago. He is still using it. He has been told to continue to use it. So that's a distraction. It's, in essence, a lie, an ongoing lie and deception. He knows about the secret space program that I'm talking about. He knows about going off planet. When he says, wouldn't it be nice to plant our flag on a planet, he is actually being disingenuous because he knows damn well we have attempted to do so now, not only in our solar system, but in all other solar systems, that they are taking humans off planet in droves. Sometimes they're sold as slaves by the reptilians and to other species out there. Sometimes they're used for sex slaves. Sometimes they're used for food. Sometimes they're used for, like I say, slave colonies to build things and do various things for other races. So all of this is unknown. All of this is considered a fantasy. This is a reality. And if you just, suspend belief for a minute and start thinking about that, what if it were true? What if Elon, when he's trying to be a good guy, which he is trying to be, and he's doing a good job in certain aspects, taking all the, exposing all the ridiculous financial waste that is our government, and so on and so forth, fabulous stuff. But he is also lying about who he is, what he knows, and what his space program is really all about, and what it's been about for many, many years. So as long as he is what we call a limited hangout, we can never trust him completely, because as long as that's an agenda from the dark side. Okay. Yeah. If you have a limited hangout and you continue to, bang that drum, even though you're supposedly on the good guy's side, then there's something wrong. So that has to be examined. It should be outed. The press, when they ask questions, do not have the background that I have. I have it arguably because I spent 20 years in the presence of, top whistleblowers, military whistleblowers. The whole, UAP hearings are a dog and pony show that are trying to out something that was outed years ago by very brave whistleblowers, including some of the ones that were in my program, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I know I'm kind of going on here, and you can jump in. Yeah. But I just wanted to get that out there so that people understand where I'm coming from and where I think people, when they're examining the situation today, need to look at history, need to understand when they're being lied to. If you don't know when you're being lied to, you are completely vulnerable. Okay. So that you can't make a good decision about anything.
Yeah. And that goes for any part of life, when you're uninformed. I want to just backtrack a little bit, because when you talk about the secret space program, right, where did that start or originate? Or, you're talking about kind of where it is now and what they've done, but where did that start? Who started it? That kind of thing. Can you give some insight into that? Because we're trying to really educate people, and we have, our audience, Mel's audience, is more sophisticated, right? But ultimately, I think just, as a light worker myself, we want more and more people to become enlightened, and we hope that these interviews get, shared all over for those people that may initially, kind of have a little bit of that cognitive dissonance, but, over time you start hearing it, you hear it from reputable, reliable people like you. It's hard to not come around, after a while, right? So yeah, so with regard to the SSP, can you give us more information that you know about that?
Okay, sure. I mean, a lot of the story is known, so it will be repetitive to those who have followed
Sure.
me, especially in my work, but others as well. So we go back to even Nazi Germany, and you go back to they were contacted by the beings from Aldebaran, is how the story goes. And there's reason to believe it's correct. And those beings came in and chose the German people to give the technology to. I was even told in part because their genetics is more closely matching those from Aldebaran, who are actually humanoid, Nordic looking, supposedly, but also having high degree of reptilian DNA. So we're looking at a composite kind of being, and how they manifest on Earth I'm not completely convinced is exactly how they look. Okay, so but there's an image, and the image is of a Nordic kind of person, and Maria Orsich and others were contacted by them as well, but they were given a technology that would have allowed them to win that war, and they were told they would not be able to use it to win that war, but they would use it later, and later is now. So then they went down to Antarctica. They built a base down there. They're still down there. We have a very strange dynamic going on with during presidential elections. You'll get a key person going down to Antarctica during that time. This has been going on for years and years, even going back to the Kennedy assassination. I mean, to Kennedy. I think that Prouty, I think it was Fletcher Prouty, was the person who went down to Antarctica at that time. So recently, Juan O'Savin and 100 other people, is how the story goes, that I got through certain contacts. He went down to Antarctica. Now, that Antarctica trip was publicized, not greatly, but it was on Rumble, and he talked about it. What he didn't talk about was the 100 other people, I don't think. And he also didn't really tell you anything that went on there. Now, I happen to know certain extenuating circumstances, and I have a Substack as well as my main website, and I write articles where I disclose all kinds of analysis, and I out certain lies that are being told and so on. So if you know there's a huge Nazi base down there, and there was already a battle with Admiral Byrd.
Yes, that was in 1947. Or was that the end of the 40s that took place?
I mean, yeah, around the end after, I think it was just after World War II.
Yeah, and he got pretty much decimated, his team, correct?
Well, I think he died. I don't know about his team. So I'm not an expert on the Admiral Byrd.
What I read, yeah, he came back, but he saw things that, let's say, surprised him.
And yes, and he was disclosing some of that. But what I'm saying is that people want to understand the secret space program.
Yep.
As you said, how did it start in the United States? And these are how it got in. It was already started. It was jump started during their work on the atom bomb, obviously. Okay. They were bringing over German scientists during that time. And even before that, arguably there was a development going on. Now there's a main beginning, which in theory is when Truman was told to start and decided to start MJ-12, what's called MJ-12, Majestic 12. It goes by various names at this point. So that was the early beginnings of a sort of. Now I think there were always more than 12 members, but 12 primary members, and many of those members, and you can look on the internet, look it up, and you can see all the members. Vannevar Bush is one of them. There are numerous ones that are familiar faces in the military-industrial complex. So once that was started, they were tasked with handling the ET story.
Okay.
And so that's another really strong sort of piece of the secret space program. And then you have, let's see, I think I'm going to forget his name. But anyway, so going back to the Nazis from Paperclip being brought over by the Dulles brothers, this was already well in motion. It was Churchill was well aware of it. Churchill and the UK were our partner, in a sense, in the secret space program. Eventually, Russia was also our partner, still is. So there are key partnerships going on under, in the secret space program, in the secret government, that arguably can be influencing surface Earth, could be influencing things Trump is able to do, things he has to make deals and try to get the best deal he can, and some where he's under orders. So this is, again, what we need to look at. You cannot discount any of that. That is like the most important information you can know right now to understand who Trump is, where he's going, and maybe look at the Tesla technology, because we are headed to a release of free energy.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it has already been released in certain secret areas like air travel, just in case you never heard that. They are doing a combination of regular fuel and free energy to fuel the commercial jets, which are, there's some things that are, how the airline industry is kind of in a state of chaos anyway. Well, airlines are arriving sooner than they're supposed to their destinations as a result of having free energy in their fuel combination.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and I have experienced this and observed this, and I have to say that I, as a psychic intuitive, I depend on that as well as research and whistleblower testimony, obviously, and so on. So I'm not just doing the sort of psychic intuitive thing.
Right, it's coming from a variety
of always checking everything on both sides. And so, but I will say that I have a degree of accuracy over the years that makes me really pay close attention, especially if I have dreams, because I tend to be a precog and have been for many, many years, long before I was doing Project Camelot. And I would see my dreams happen in front of me, sometimes exactly right, even could be moments or hours or days or years. So with that, it has been an advantage to help me put the big picture together, to know when I'm being lied to, as opposed to when I have the truth or a piece of the truth. So that's how the secret space program really got off the ground, in ways that we know and understand. But there are ways you can go back in history to the time of Egypt and the Anunnaki and Sumeria, and the carvings on the walls of the temples have a story to tell. And the Sitchin books, for example, of Enki and Enlil and all of that. Mm-hmm. So there are back when it's not just the secret space program. There's also the secret dark magicians, occult beginnings and underpinnings of things like kings and queens and bloodlines and all of that. So it's a big picture to kind of get up to speed on if you don't understand any of it.
Yeah, no, it's a part of our history, quite honestly, that people have no clue about, and so I have to tell you, on a personal level, having gone down a lot of rabbit holes and really open to everything, at this point, nothing surprises me anymore. Having a big spiritual awakening in 2017, although I was a conspiracy theorist before then, I go back and forth, honestly, in my belief, like, do we just kind of take the bucket of ice and, throw it at people to wake them up and tell them everything? Do we do it in a slower way, though it's very painful for people like you and I, because we don't want people, psychologically just breaking down because it's too much to handle, or there's fear, fear oftentimes, it'll make people just stop. They can't move forward. They can't go backwards. Fear is a powerful emotion. So some days I'm of the opinion, like, just say everything, get it out. And then other days, I think with more of a warmth or a heart and say, we probably need to, we don't want society to just collapse by people freaking out. And honestly, I personally think the younger generation, they are going to be able to handle it a lot better than, the older generation, right? They have more of an openness to begin with. They're more accepting. They're more tolerant of things. They came in after a lot of this, the changes and the timelines and all that. But, I think of some of my friends and I tell them little tiny bits and just even having to do with the going in the arm. I mean, that was like, forget it for people I knew. They couldn't grasp it. They couldn't grasp the idea that, Joe Biden wasn't who he was. They thought I was crazy and still do, because I say a lot of it's a show and a lot of it's pantomime. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. When Trump says this, it means that. It doesn't really mean this. And so how do you think disclosure should happen at this point? Like, what is your view? I know you feel that it's lying when we're not saying what's really going on, but what does it look like? How do we let things come out? And do you think
let me sort of change turn upside down your paradigm here, because that's where it begins. So when you say you think you're going to have a heart and you're going to continue to lie to people, you might want to look at that a little closer. In other words, people have this misconception that if they continue a lie that they now know is a lie, it's a kindness, but it's kindness kills.
Well, no, I didn't say
kindness.
I said slowly. I didn't say keep the lie.
I know, but you're still lying. I don't care if it's for 1 day, 10 days, or for 3 years or 10 years. Meanwhile, this child is growing up under lies. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you can switch it around to understanding that, first of all, you're coming from an arrogant point of view, because you're actually saying that you can handle the truth, but that person can't. Now, I don't care how the person acts or what has given you those signals, but if you look at humans in a completely different way, which is that we are a hybrid race. We are all a mixture of many alien races. Now, I know that some people don't believe that. They want to think they're, Adam's seed and all this nonsense. Sorry. But Adam being an atom, never mind. But anyway, so what I'm saying here is that understanding what is true kindness, what is true heart, what is real love of humanity, and what are you doing when you're continuing the lie, even for a day. I'm just saying that there's a completely different way of looking at it. And if you start looking at it from turning that paradigm on its head and understanding that all humans are actually ETs as well, that they all have DNA from other races, that they all have come from the stars and from different places in the cosmos, and that they all are divine beings, then they're your equal. They're not someone you should talk down to and lie to.
Oh, I agree with you. What I'm saying is, what does it look like? Like, here we are today. So we know they're alive.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, because that's what I'm curious about. But I agree with you.
I want to make it clear that you cannot, if you don't change your inner thinking and understanding why I say the things I do and why we're where we are now. So another thing to know right now is that if, and I've been sort of very involved in this sector, which has been what we call loosely called disclosure. And I've been involved in it in an, open public way for 20 years, but my whole life, because I was abducted as a child. So when you're looking at that trajectory and you're looking at everything that is being done right now with the UAP hearings and the various people coming forward, and they are often saying statements that are complete lies, whether they know it or not, because they are saying things like, this is the first time you've ever seen, like Jake Barber, a person who has had direct contact with a craft. That's a lie.
Right.
Every abductee will tell you that's a lie. Yes. But besides them, we have scientists, engineers, we have whistleblowers that I've interviewed that I have vetted that are also very well-known military people who have made the conscious decision to come out. And we're talking 20 years, 40 years. We're talking people like Phil Schneider and others going back before I was even in the game. And they had already disclosed their direct contact with the craft, with the aliens, so on and so forth. So when you come forward now and you're looking at it 20 years later, and these people who are trying to head up disclosure, they're trying to be in charge of it. They are actually starting with a lie because they're erasing what is in essence sometimes 70 years of secrecy and pretending that there was no lies there, that there was no contact there, that there were no craft, that there was no military intervention, that none of the whistleblowers that I brought forward who risked their lives and their families, and often sometimes they were killed because of it, and they continue to be. And you could even hear Grush talking about how he was threatened. Okay, just he didn't even see the craft. He just got whistleblower testimony coming to him. He's an intel agent that was testifying at the UAP hearing, the first one. And so what we're talking about is when you're looking at, this is a time of truth. Okay, so we have a wave behind us, which is encouraging what I've been doing for 20 years suddenly has a huge wave behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, when I started doing this, we would use the term whistleblowers and people would not know what we were talking about. Okay. So what I'm saying is, are we really trying to be nice to the public by telling them that today, that the UAP hearing, that what was going on in there, that they really don't know that there's crash retrievals when I have witnesses of crash retrievals going back 20 years that are considered to not to be liars or fly by night or any of these kinds of things. So they're erasing the history for the new people who are coming on because they are lying and pretending like it just starts now. Okay. Well, that's an incredible it's an insult and a slap in the face to all of my witnesses, okay, including me, and the fact that they have risked their lives to get us where we are today. So it's not innocent when somebody turns around and lies again and again and again. And what we're finding out now about our world more and more is that it has been built on a system of lies. And so if you want to continue that for another month or another year or whatever you think is better, because you think that we can wait 5 more years, go right ahead. But let me tell you what's happening in the meantime. In the meantime, humans are disappearing off the face of the earth. Children especially are disappearing in droves. And we know this, okay? They're also
that's still very much happening.
Daily.
That's still
absolutely
okay.
100%.
Okay.
And there's one military whistleblower called Michael Herrera, and I did articles on him. I was supposed to interview him, but then he was told not to talk to me, which is a standard thing going on right now.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is he and his team of soldiers, he kept quiet about this, I guess, for however many years it was. We're over in, I think it was Indonesia. They had a major earthquake. Under the cover of the earthquake, they were sent in as a military team, and they were caging humans into boxes, and they were loading them onto a UFO. And that UFO, according to a remote viewer, ultimately went out of this solar system to another planet. Okay.
And when was this?
This, it's a testimony. Michael Herrera, you can Google.
Yeah, I'm saying what year.
A witness that was interviewed, I guess, by Stephen Greer rather recently, but also talked about and was supposed to testify, I think, in the first UAP hearing, but the second one, he didn't come forward.
This experience that he's talking about took place when? Like recently or years?
I'd have to bring up the document, which I can probably do, or even send it to you, and then you can put the links. And it was even publicized on a BBC newspaper. Okay, this story had drawings, etc. So he had recall. He was aware.
Yeah.
He was not sleeping or something like that. And he and his colleagues, he has colleagues that don't want to come forward because they're afraid. But the bottom line is, this is his story. Okay. This is only the tip of the iceberg. But what I am explaining to you is known. Okay. And it's still going on. Absolutely. And Trump, one of the things that Trump is concentrating on, in case you didn't notice, is finding the children that have been part of what I call the adrenochrome highway, that has to do with killing them, torturing them, and getting the secretions from their glands, and then turning it into a solution called adrenochrome. Right. That, when drunk by Hollywood stars and other people in the Illuminati circles, it makes them stay younger longer. And if they stop it, it's an addiction. They turn old like instantly. And it's pretty hideous when you see that. So this is being publicized, and P. Diddy, his parties were involved with that. J-Lo and various ones were obviously involved in this. I mean, I believe some Hollywood stars have not been told about it. They were just told, here's a solution, drink it every day and it will keep you young. They didn't know what they were doing. Okay. But we're talking about the death of innocence. And so really, you have to look at your own conscience. How long are you willing to let children die? And they're dying in droves every day. And
so here's my question, and I don't know if you know the answer, but over the last few years, obviously anyone sort of in our community, truther, aware, knows about this, knows how awful and terrible and prevalent it's been. And then, like, on the other side, we're hearing, not the mainstream side, but I mean, the other side of the conversation, we're hearing that so much of this has been eradicated and the dumbs have been, so what do we believe, I guess, is the point? Because, from a standpoint of someone like me, let's say, who doesn't, can't go into a tunnel and save a child necessarily, I'm hoping that the narrative is true, that throughout the world, the country, these rescues are happening, but are they not happening fast enough, or are it's still up and running in certain areas?
It's definitely ongoing. I mean, Trump has disclosed that there were, I can't remember the number he's using, of children that they wanted to rescue. I know that their rescues, even by the White Hats, have been ongoing before Trump has gotten back into office. So behind the scenes, there are people like Gene Decode, who's actually supposed to be a guest on my show next week, I think, who claims that a lot of this stuff is being done and maybe more handled than some others might believe. Okay. My understanding is a little different because, in part, I'm more familiar with what's really down in those underground tunnels, and that a lot of the children are actually being guarded by reptilians, and that when you encounter what's in essence a reptilian nest, then you basically have to do a number of things. One of the things you have to do is, they want to kill the perpetrators. Okay. So the humans and the reptilians, but they also want to keep the children alive. Sure. And, it's very difficult to handle something like that. And on top of it, bring the children from underground into the surface of Earth. And then without questions being asked, and so on and so forth, because it's all under cover of darkness, and it goes on. So this is an ongoing operation, enterprise, you might say. I don't believe that they have covered the whole Earth. I don't even know if it's possible to cover all the Earth and to rescue all the children, and humans that are in cages. I think that even going back to the days of Jesse Ventura, who brought people to the doorways of underground bases and tunnels and the systems, and those systems go down miles, and you have built-in bases, you have whole cities that go down miles, and you have them also in undersea bases and cities, and some of them are also run by the Greys, who are also kidnapping and killing and eating and so on children, and humans. So what can I say? It's this is a huge problem. It's a problem on Earth. And now what they've done, the reptilians have done, is recruit humans that have an extra amount of what is in essence reptilian DNA,
Okay.
who have a proclivity to prey on other humans. And
Right.
this is not stopped. It continues because you cannot, first of all, you don't know everyone who's doing this, and you can't arrest everyone on the planet who's doing it. And it's become an epidemic. The only thing, there are signs that say that this human trafficking now, it has in terms of financial whatever amount of money being made off of it, is greater than the drug trade. It's greater
Yes.
than the guns trade. It's
We've
now
heard.
at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
So, and this increase, if you were looking at a graph, you would see these other things kind of tapering off and starting to maybe go by the wayside, but you will see that going straight up. So you think it's taken care of? Well, Trump has only been in office, whatever, now it's like 14 days or whatever it is. But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. But weren't these operations going on even back to during his first administration?
Yes, and I've already said that. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying here is that they have many obstacles
Oh,
stopping
yeah. Yeah.
from spending every day and spending the right amount of troops. Okay. So meanwhile, like even during the Biden show, they were
Yeah.
sending troops over to Ukraine, where tons of human trafficking has been going on for eons, and so on and so forth. So they're also distracted by other little wars that are erupting everywhere, and where troops are being used who could be rescuing children, but are actually being sidelined to do these other wars. So, and we're very close to even a world war at this point. So, what I'm saying is, if you want to keep secrets and you want to choose that to be one of your secrets,
Yeah.
then what I would say to you is then it's on your conscience that more children are dying every day. And I would keep that in mind. Okay. Because once you know, you're not innocent.
Right. So I guess on a practical level, what you're saying is that these hearings are really ridiculous because they're not really exposing anything,
Well,
right?
there's something, I value them because something's coming out, some
Yeah.
truth, even people like Lou Elizondo, who knows way more than he can tell you, probably as much as I do, even maybe more. And at this point, it's hard to tell. But the bottom line is that, he's risking his life. He knows he's risking his family's well-being. He's put himself on the line to tell even as much as he's said, but they still have to, you can look at them and see them ask the question, and they will actually lie to Congress and to the public because they have to, because they're under security oaths that say that they and their family will be killed if they don't abide by them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22, but I wouldn't say don't have them. We have to get all the facsimiles of truth out there just to lay the groundwork so that people can begin to understand the depth and the width of the problem here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very daunting thing, because every time people have an inkling about, and their instincts are telling them one thing, there's a barrage of, no, that's not true, hitting them from the media and all these sources. So it's meant to, make people doubt themselves or what their instincts are really saying. And then, of course, you have these whistleblowers and people who, let's face it, if you get threatened, that's one thing, but if they're threatening to hurt your family, that's a whole other level of threat, right? You're not making a decision just for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, every human being has to make these kinds of decisions. It's actually part of being alive at this point on planet Earth. The more you become aware that we're living in a kind of a slave system,
Yeah.
and the push right now is to free us, to free each other, and just look at it maybe a bit like an analogy going back to Nazi Germany. The people that sat in the churches while the trains rolled by with people on their way to the chambers. This is, how do you look at them? Do you respect them as humans, looking back at the decisions they made? Well, maybe you say mitigating circumstances, they were predicting this one or that one, but in the end, it almost doesn't matter. You still have to make a decision. And as far as what's true and what's not, humans have the ability to tell the truth from falsity. Now, a lot of them have gotten that deadened. They've been MK Ultra, and they've been, mind controlled by their churches and their schools,
television,
and in so-called experts in the health, the horrible big pharma, which is now being exposed for being the farce it is. In other words, it goes so deep. But nonetheless, if you're going to climb out of a rabbit hole, you can't, you're not going to fly out. You're just going to have to go through the levels.
Dig and claw your way out.
Understand, at every level, when you're faced with a lie or a truth, which side are you going to fall on? And what are you going to do as a human here on planet Earth? So these are deep. I'm not saying they're superficial decisions. I made my decision a long time ago, but I understand that people that are facing these decisions for their first time, and then there will be new decisions to make, even going along as we do into the future. And it's not like black and white, many shades of gray.
Really, it really is. So last thing I want to ask you, we talked about a lot of things, and some of these things are very hard truths, right? But what's your opinion from where you stand? Like, are we moving in the right direction? Are things better than they were? Are they no better than they were? Like, what's your overall opinion of where we are right now and where we might be over the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Well, I definitely think they're moving in a good direction. I think Trump getting into office is a good step forward, because I know that they know about rescuing the children. If nothing else, if they did nothing else, that's like super important. So, and I think that the awakening that's happening around the planet, I think the waves of energy that are favoring the telling of truth in every aspect of society is a huge positive. So I don't just think, the last 5 years was important or positive. I think the trajectory of humanity is moving in the direction of freeing ourselves and each other and truth. So to me, that's very positive. And I wake up every day glad to be part of the army of truthers that are changing the world around us and bringing the truth to humanity and getting people to wake up all around us. Now, it's not an easy task.
Oh, no.
And but we have a lot of help right now. So I think we're in a good place.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear from you. And I'm curious, what do you think about this great awakening? Do you think we had help? I know there's certain people that think that a lot of the good ETs helped, and they helped to raise the vibration a little bit to help. Do you buy into that we were helped to start having more of a mass awakening here on Earth, so that we could recognize just how enslaved we are and start helping one another to see that?
Yes, I think that we have had ET intervention on Earth going back eons. And I think that it's always been there. I think that when they work, they primarily work through us, as opposed to telling us what to do or this or that. In other words, there are sort of rules in place, laws, in the relations of races to each other,
Okay.
and so on, having to do, with things like they call the Prime Directive and various things, where an advanced race is not actually supposed to go in and take over and rule over another race. So they use the loopholes they can. I think that they are coming forward much more so. I think, You may know about Courtney Brown and his remote viewers who are having telepathic meetings with a certain race of ETs. That's appear to be positive, but you always have to keep your eyes open and keep a critical view and a balanced view. So I think that Trump, well, I think Melania is his ET contact. I believe she is probably Venusian or another race, but I believe he's being guided. And I think that the other white hats are also having contact and being guided. So I think that there is guiding going on, and I just re-released my interview with Alex Collier, who is from the Andromedans, and he was contacted and given a tremendous amount of information. He has a book called Defending Sacred Ground. It's a PDF. It's free.
I read it. Thank you for sending it. Okay. And that interview is incredible. That was done that you sent. So thank you.
Yes, and then there's a snippet out there from many years ago when he was, I guess, a younger man and quite fiery on the subject. So I think that there is. The truth is out there and in here. It is absolutely out there. And so I think it's just a matter of people making the right choices. And of course, you're always going to have the interplay of dark and light.
Yeah.
But the dark informs the light. And actually, the light will circumvent the dark and transcend it ultimately. So I think that we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, great. Well, this has really been a joy and an honor to, I've been such a fan of yours for so long. So this has been fantastic. And, how do people follow you? What's the best way for them to follow you and your work?
Well, my Telegram channel is got around 90,000 subscribers. So that's a good place to start. I do post there every single day. It doesn't mean I believe what I'm getting and transferring on there. So I copy a lot of stuff off of Twitter and various people out there that are publishing what I feel is worth noting. Okay. Not always what I consider to be the whole truth or nothing but the truth. But I also post all of my interviews on there. I post all of my commentary on there. I post my Substack articles that I'm writing on there. So it's a great place to keep in touch on a daily basis with what I'm doing and what I'm looking at. Then I have my Substack. I have my Rumble channel is where I put all the latest videos. So I've been doing that for years. And so the Rumble channel has grown quite substantially. And my website, which is projectcamelotportal.com. It also goes under the URLs projectcamelot.tv and projectcamelot.org. They all go to the same place.
Okay.
So what I would say is, on my website, if nothing else, you can go to that and see all the social media across the top.
Oh, perfect.
Where I'm posting. So if you look for those links, there are fakers out there. Like I understand there's a fake Telegram out there, but if it doesn't have 90,000 or more subscribers, it's not me.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about is being alert, understanding, when you're hearing from, say, me or one of my colleagues, to make sure that you're actually hearing from us. Yes, people do take our publications, our videos, etc., and repost them. So you might be watching my videos on someone else's channel. You might want to try to notice that, but it doesn't, in the end, as long as the truth gets to people, that's all I care about.
Yeah, exactly. Now, are you going to be, are we going to see you at the Quantum Summit?
Yes, I'm speaking.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so so that'll be a joy. So anybody who wants to meet Kerry, get your tickets right now because it's going to be a great event. And again, thank you for sharing so much time today. This has been phenomenal. We're going to put all your information in the description box. And just keep that information coming. You've been so brave and, really, like I said, blaze the trail for so many others. And it's just been enlightening for so many people. And I would venture to say your work, probably many people who know of the things you're talking about probably don't even know that it's because of your work that they know it in some way, shape, or form.
Maybe so. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, you take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, Elisa V here. Did you know that medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, accounting for 66.5% of bankruptcies? In fact, in 2022, 17% of adults with healthcare debt either declared bankruptcy or lost their homes due to it. We can all agree that the healthcare system is broken. Well, there is an alternative that I want to tell you about. It is impact health sharing, which Yahoo News is calling the disruptor in the $4.6 trillion healthcare system. With impact health sharing, you can choose the doctors, clinics, and naturopaths that you want with less restrictive guidelines. Medical bills are reduced to their fair market value, and premiums are 30 to 72% cheaper than competitors. Plus, Impact Health incentivizes healthy habits like supplements, gym visits, and therapy. Call 844-275-1056 and use the code MELCARMINE for a free quote today.